This is Fat2Fierce. Welcome to the Confidence Chronicles. I'm your host, Amy English. Join me on this empowering adventure towards a healthier relationship with food, body, and self, one delicious bite at a time. Hello, welcome to the Confidence Chronicles. This is episode number 49, and I'm your host, Amy English. You want to know why I'm so excited about it being episode 49? Well, because I read or heard somewhere that most podcasts don't make it to episode 50. And when I heard that, I was bound and determined to make sure the Confidence Chronicles is getting to episode 50. So this is number 49. Yes, we will definitely make it to 50 and beyond because I'm having too much fun with this, all right? And I hope you're enjoying it as well. And listen, if you haven't already, be sure to give this podcast a follow on Spotify or wherever you're listening, okay? This way, it boosts up the number of followers, and that's going to help it get to more people because I know, and more people need this podcast, okay? There's a lot of people out there struggling with food and with a negative body image, all right? And we know this because of the number of people who are on these, what do they call, the GLP-1 medications and all the other things, and we all know what's going to happen in the new year with the weight loss advertisements and everything. Listen, people are struggling with food. They're struggling with emotional eating and binge eating. They're struggling with the food noises. They're definitely struggling during the holidays. We know this. I know this, right? They're struggling with negative body image and the way they talk to themselves and the way that they treat themselves. And Fat2Fierce is all about reclaiming your confidence, reclaiming your power specifically over food and over those food voices, over that food noise, right? Learning to quiet that for yourself naturally by really paying attention to what you're thinking and paying close attention to the habits with food, these habits that have been around for a really long time. Okay. And so why am I so fired up about this during the holidays? Well, because we all know what happens. There are the sweet and savory treats that are around that we don't normally have, throughout the year. A lot of them are saved specifically for this time of the year. And because of that, a lot of times we'll indulge. And I wanted to talk specifically about what happens when we do overindulge, because a lot of us will experience overeating, emotional eating, and even binge eating during this time of year. And like a lot of times, if you're in a restrictive mindset with food, meaning you maybe don't allow yourself to overindulge or you keep trying to be good or any of those things, that restrictive mindset. So, I can't eat this or I can't have that or I can't be around that. I can't have those cookies in the house. Anything like that, a lot of times, listen, there's people who are very good at that and I applaud them. That's wonderful. If you can have that level of discipline, fantastic. A lot of people don't. And if you're someone who doesn't have that level of discipline and you tend to overindulge, overdo it, have an oopsie moment, all right? What I really want to talk about today is what we do when that happens. Okay. So if you find yourself in an oopsie moment, like I really didn't want to eat a dozen cookies, or I really didn't want to eat all of that, whatever. Okay. And now you're in a situation where you're feeling very bad about yourself, or you're mad at yourself, or you're frustrated, or you're just ready to say F it because it's the holiday season and kind of just give up on yourself until January 2nd. All right. Let's focus on what to do instead, because that F it cycle is not doing you any favors. Okay. That's kind of stuck in the all or nothing mentality where we overdid it. So, might as well just like throw in the towel and be done with this and just kind of go nuts and eat all the things and whatever. I'll start again Monday. Okay. or the I'll start on January 2nd. All right. We want to kind of squash that mentality. And I talked more about that specifically in episode number 48. In this episode, I'm going to focus on 10 helpful actions, powerful, practical things you can do when you find yourself in the oops, I overdid it, I overindulged space, okay? Because it's not about punishment or shame, all right? I want to be very clear here. It's about showing up for yourself and showing up for yourself with kindness and practicing becoming more consistent with changing the pattern for yourself, okay? Here's what I know from my personal journey and from coaching, from being a coach for the last 8 years. I think it's 8 years, whatever. It's not the overeating that defines us, okay? Very clear about this. We think it is, but it's not. It is how we respond afterwards. That is key. And that is going to impact these cycles for you moving forward. It is all about how you respond afterwards. All right. So, without further ado, in this space, when nobody really knows what day it is, quick side note here, I always laugh at those holiday memes where it's like December 1st through the 26th is festive. December 27th through the 31st, everyone's confused. No one knows what day it is, and we're all full of cheese. Or maybe we're all full of sugar. And another side note, okay, we've been baking here. We've been baking all weekend. We made a ton of holiday cookies. I made Plotzek, the Polish coffee cake that my mom always made when I was a kid. She still makes it. And I make it, and I make it really good too. Anyway, so we were baking, and I overindulged in cookies this weekend, and I'm feeling it today. So today's Monday, the 23rd, when I'm recording this episode. All right. And I for sure have a sugar hangover. And I'm going to get into this a little bit more as we talk about these 10 helpful actions. But one of the things I did today when I woke up is I had a really great power food breakfast. I had a couple hard-boiled eggs, a side of broccoli, and some kimchi with a huge glass of lemon water, right? That was the step I decided to take today. And listen, all those cookies in the Plotzek is here. And I could have easily said F it. And in the past, I would have. I would have been like, screw it. You know what? Let me just have a few more cookies. These are going to be gone in a week. But I didn't, because I don't like the way that I feel right now. And I don't want to continue feeling like this for the next week. Now, does this mean I'm not going to have another cookie or another piece of Plotzek? No, I probably will, maybe on Christmas Day or whatever. I'm not saying I can't have that stuff anymore. I'm simply saying that I'm going to be more balanced and more mindful with my choices and continue to focus on feeling better, right? Because, yeah, having that sugar hangover is just not fun. And it is surprising, since I have reduced my sugar consumption so much over the years, I get it like, I'm very sensitive to it. So even if I just have a couple cookies, I feel it the next day. It's kind of like a hangover from drinking too much alcohol. It's really it's very similar in that way. Very strange. Anyway, as you get more sensitive to like these things, when you do have them, you tend to feel it a little bit more, which I guess in a way is kind of helpful, because it really does like reduce the amount that I eat and how often I want to have these things, because I just don't like feeling that way. Okay, anyway, before I go on another tangent, friends, let's talk about the 10 helpful actions. And I do have these written down, so I'm going to share them with you. And these are just each one of these, okay, each one of these 10 items are designed to help you reclaim your power, okay? So instead of thinking that the cookies have control, or the whatever treat, the whatever dessert, the whatever food is your thing, instead of thinking that that food is in control and that you have no power, all of these are designed to help you see where you do have your power. your power of choice, okay? Your power of choice and your power of thought. All right. Because again, you're going to be more mindful and you're going to make a conscious choice. All right. There you go. All right. So, number one, first thing, when you find yourself in the space of oops, I overdid it, okay? Had too many cookies, had too many whatever. One option, hydrate. Drink water. I just shared I had a big glass of lemon water. I've been drinking a lot of lemon water lately. It helps with inflammation. Guess what? Sugar is inflammatory, okay? Lemon water is helpful. I know a lot of people struggle with water. I hear this all the time in my coaching practice. Find a way to make it easier for yourself if you are someone who struggles with getting enough water or with just drinking plain water. I personally love plain water. A lot of people don't. Find a way to make it work for you, whether that is adding lemon or any other kind of fruit to it. Cucumbers. Cucumbers in water, delicious. I personally, I'm gonna share with you a little tip that I've learned along the way. Do you see my water bottle? Walmart, all right? This is a 40-ounce water bottle, minimum 2 of these a day. And I typically drink one before noon and then the other one throughout the day. And usually I'll do about 100 ounces a day, but the minimum is 2 of those, which would be 80 ounces a day. Okay. So hydrate, get your water in. It's going to help kind of get things moving. Water can help you rehydrate and reset, right? Because dehydration can make you feel sluggish. And so, starting with a glass of water can just help your body start to recover and just help you feel better. Because also, when you're feeling sluggish, especially after indulging in too many sweet or savory treats, when you're feeling sluggish after that, it's going to make it real easy to get in that F it mindset, right? And what I mean by that is like, screw it. Like I don't have the patience or the willpower or the motivation or the whatever to do this, right? If you're feeling sluggish on top of that, it's just going to make it really easy to slip into that cycle again. So hydrating can absolutely help with that. Listen, is this the end all be all? Am I saying drink a bunch of water and you won't ever overindulge again? No, that's not the point in this. Okay. The point in this is that if you have found yourself in a situation where you have overindulged, this is one of the 10 helpful actions that you can take to kind of like help yourself regroup, so to speak, and start like going down the path that you want to go down, right? So you're going to regroup and then choose what step you want to take next, okay? And moving forward. All right. So one of these helpful actions is to hydrate. Number 2, I also mentioned this one earlier, okay? Having a nourished, balanced meal. You know, from way back when, and I didn't write down what episode it is, but please feel free to go and look for it if you haven't listened, the episode about power food and pleasure food, okay? Pleasure food are the holiday cookies, okay? Power food, that's the hard-boiled eggs, the broccoli, and the kimchi that I was talking about earlier, okay? There's a difference. There's room for everything. You just get to decide what ratio works best for you, okay? And so when you're in a situation or when you're having a day where you've maybe overindulged on the pleasure food and you've had more than your normal ratio and you're starting to feel it, well, one of the helpful actions to take would be to have a power food meal. Whatever you like, whatever you prefer, whatever power foods you like. This is going to help offset the overindulgence of pleasure food. And that's going to start to help you feel better. Okay. So that's action step number 2. Number 3, exercise. I did that this morning too. I will say, so I just want to share, and I'm a little proud of myself about this. Okay. I'm proud of myself for this. So over the weekend, as we were baking and eating cookies, I did make sure I was getting in a cycling every day, whether it was cycling or doing some sort of cardio a walk, whatever, I made sure to exercise. So that is a helpful step as well. Okay. A helpful action is doing some form of exercise. And I know when we're full because we've eaten too much, overindulged, or even had a binge eat, the last thing we may want to do is get up and move our bodies. Okay. Not saying you have to do anything crazy, even if you just go for a walk down the driveway and back, right? Or maybe the next day you start your day with doing some form of movement. That is just going to help get things moving as well. And I think the exercise is not only can that help with digestion, absolutely, but it's going to have huge mental benefits. I don't know about you, but I always feel better mentally after I've moved my body for a bit. Okay. Whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's 5 minutes. Here's the other thing. Let me get on a rant about exercise for just a second. Okay. And I don't talk about this enough. So this might end up being its own full episode later on. Here's the deal with exercise. Somewhere along the way, we all kind of collectively, there's this collective idea that exercise needs to be long and hard and sweat a lot, like, and if you do anything less than, I don't know, 30 minutes, like, what's the point? Why bother? No. Okay, listen, you go out for a 2-minute walk, that's movement. You go down your driveway and back up again, that's movement. You do some jogging in place for a minute or two, that's movement. Do some squats while you're waiting for your coffee to brew. I do that. That's movement, okay? Don't worry so much about the number of steps or how much you sweat or how long you're doing it, right? Focus more on just getting in the movement however much you can. It's going to feel better. I don't know about you, but even when I'm doing the kids laugh at my family laughs at me because while I'm waiting for my coffee, I'll either do squats or I'll do leg raises. And so they mock me and they'll do it, kind of laughing at me. And I'm like, you know what? I feel better after doing this. And now that you've mocked me, I hope you do too. Anyway, all right. So doing some form of exercise when you find yourself in that overindulgent space can be really helpful, especially mentally, especially if you find yourself going down the trail of thoughts that is like, I have no control. Why did I do this again? I can't stop myself. All right. Break it up with a little bit of movement, do something, clear your mind, help your digestion. It works. Okay. Number 4, reflect on your overindulgence. Sit with a journal. Reflect without judgment. I talked about this. I should have written down the episodes I'm referencing in this particular episode, but I didn't. So that's okay. You can go and look for them. Reflection without judgment. I talked about this in the episode of my very last binge. Okay. This was early on. It might be episode 7 or 9. I'm not sure. Anyway, when you can just spend 5 minutes journaling about what just happened, it's exactly what I did on my very last binge back in 2017. Okay. And that's actually me doing that is what led to that being my very last binge. Okay. So even when you have an overeat, when an overindulgence, just taking 5 minutes, asking yourself some questions, journaling about it can be really helpful. One great question to ask yourself is, what was I feeling? What led to this? It's not about blame. It's more about understanding patterns. Okay. So reflection can absolutely be a really helpful action to take when you find yourself in this situation. Okay. Here's another good one. This is number 5. Yes, we're on number 5. Reaffirm your worth. Okay. Overeating doesn't define you. Remember, you're not a stress eater. You're not an emotional eater. You're not a binge eater. You're not an overeater. You're you. You just may have some habits with food that have been hanging out for a while, certain patterns that you would like to change. Okay? Here's some helpful thoughts when you're reaffirming your worth. I am more than my food choices. I deserve kindness, especially from myself. Okay. You're you. You're not an emotional eater. You're not an overeater. You're you, and you deserve kindness, especially from yourself. Okay. Number 6, do something kind for your body. All right. So, whether that is a hot shower, doing some stretching, curling up with a cozy blanket, putting on, like, taking a nice bubble bath if you can, putting on some nice lotion on your body, just doing something that reminds you that your body is deserving of care no matter what you ate. I cannot tell you how important this is, okay? The whole idea behind all these steps, whatever ones you choose, listen, you don't have to do all of these, right? Pick one that feels doable and feels helpful and practice it. Because the whole idea is that these are going to break up all the nonsense, all the negative thoughts, all the crap ways that you may talk to yourself when you do have an overindulgence, okay? That's what all of this is about. It's about changing the pattern of self-deprivation and self-destruction, okay? And because that leads to more of the overeating, all right? Okay. Number 7, practice the pause. There's another episode on this. Pause before your next meal. Pause before your next food choice, whatever that is. Let your hunger guide you, okay? Pay attention to your hunger. You want to avoid, this is important, avoid punishing yourself by skipping meals or being overly restrictive. That never helps. We know this. Okay. When we're overly restrictive, that's going to backfire. Okay. Because restriction, whatever we resist is going to persist. And so when we're trying to resist by being overly restrictive, that dam is eventually going to break. And then the big old effort's going to come in. Okay. Because then you're all frustrated because you've been so restrictive. Just doesn't work, right? And we see these patterns repeat over and over again. We want to change them. So focus on your physical hunger. Get familiar with your physical hunger in your body. It's going to be different for everybody. Notice when you start to get that rumbling sensation or whatever the sensations are for you and your physical hunger, and let that be your guide for when you eat next. Okay. And also, you can ask yourself how you want to feel. Okay. And that was kind of what I did this morning with my power breakfast. When I woke up, knowing I was feeling a little like I had a little too much sugar, the question was, okay, how do I want to feel today? How do I want to feel? I want to feel better. So I'm focusing on my physical hunger and I'm focusing on the fact that I want to feel better. And I'm letting that guide my food choices today. Okay. Even with all the cookies here, okay? They're all right downstairs. That's another benefit of changing your relationship with food is because they can all be here and hang out here. I don't have to get rid of them. It's fine. My family can continue to eat them as they want, and it doesn't impact me, right? I know that I'm in charge of my choices. All right. Helpful action number 8, engage in an activity that you enjoy, right? So you can, I don't always love the idea of distracting ourselves, but sometimes it fits, right? So you can distract yourself from the feeling of guilt because that's never helpful by focusing on joy. Okay. So whether it's listening to a favorite music, doing a hobby, watching a fun holiday movie, reading a book, shift your focus. Okay. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by the guilt over what you ate, that guilt, how much of that is manufactured? Okay. We've talked about manufactured stress. There's also manufactured guilt. All right. Where we keep piling it on. That's not going to be helpful. What do you need in that moment where you can shift that for yourself? And sometimes, especially if you're not well versed in recognizing your thoughts and all the stuff that we do in the coaching world, then yeah, finding something that you enjoy in the moment is going to be really helpful to shift yourself away from the guilt. Okay. Very important. Number 9, plan a power snack or breakfast. Okay. We talked about this. If the overindulgence involved a lot of sugar, like mine did, right? Plan a stabilizing meal for the next day. All right. So there's some examples here. Greek yogurt with berries and nuts, or like the hard-boiled eggs that I chose today, some veggies, maybe even some fruit like apple or something like that. Just focus on the power foods to start your day the next day. I find, and this is kind of interesting. I find that if I start my day with something like that, it helps guide me throughout the rest of the day versus starting my day with a Little Debbie Christmas tree cake. You know what I mean? Okay. Let's continue. Number 2. All right. I got to tell you the story since I started that. So yesterday, as we were baking, like when I first got downstairs yesterday morning, like after my workout and everything, and I go to make my cup of coffee, I look over by the cookies and there's a box of the Little Debbie Christmas tree cakes. And I said, "What is this?" And my husband said, "The kids have never had them before." And I'm like, "Oh, for heaven's sake." So you know that with my cup of coffee, I had a Little Debbie Christmas tree cake. All right. Yeah, that started off my day. Okay. Moving on. We don't beat ourselves up about this, okay? We never beat ourselves up about this. It's fine. I can't even tell you the last time I had one of those things. It's been decades. But yeah, we like getting mad at ourselves over this stuff is never helpful and just keeps us feeling bad. And when we feel bad, this is where we give up and just say F it and kind of distract in that negative way. No, 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 no. It's not useful. All right. We move on, we take steps. So, number 9 is planning a power snack or a power breakfast to start your day. And number 10, and this one is probably my favorite, although I know it's something that takes a lot of practice, okay? But you're worth it, all right? Remember that. Forgive yourself and move on, okay? Let it go. So what? It's another thing I love to say. And I said that a lot in the beginning as I was changing my habits with food. So when I would have the overindulgence, if I would have the emotional eat or even the binge eat, right? It was like, so what? I don't need to dwell on this. I don't need to let this like ruminate and take up all this focus, time, and attention, right? Forgive yourself. It's okay. Move on. Okay. The thing is, the holiday season, it is a time of celebration, connection, enjoyment, can be also a lot of other emotions. Listen, I don't know if we're connected over on TikTok or if you follow me there, but I think it was Saturday. I was feeling really weepy and I was feeling very sad. And there's a video and I cried. And I didn't even know what it was. Like there was no thought behind it. There was no driving thought that was resulting in the tears. I was just feeling really emotional, and I think that happens to a lot of us over the holiday season. And I mean, sometimes it just hits, right? And the food, listen, especially certain foods that we make, maybe that were family favorites or that certain people, see, now I'm going to get emotional during this. Certain people in the family made that are no longer here with us, right? So it's like the holidays, y'all, I'm not editing this out, okay? So while the holidays can absolutely be a time of celebration, connection, and enjoyment, they can also be very nostalgic, which can make us a little bit emotional at times. Wasn't expecting this. That's okay. We practice self-forgiveness, remind ourselves one meal or day of lots of cookies does not determine your long-term relationship with food. Okay? Even as someone who has been doing this work for close to a decade now, okay, almost, who has become an emotional eating coach, me, talking about myself here, okay, who has been doing this work. I help people in this area. I have done my own work because I struggled with food for so long. Even I have these times in my life, these moments, especially during holidays, where I overindulge. It's not a problem. Okay. And listen, my weight fluctuates heavily when I overindulge, easily 6 pounds. Okay. Sometimes more. And a lot of that is it's the sugar and the flour. That's just the way my body operates. And so I know it'll take several days, possibly even a week or two, for that to leave my body. And it's okay. It's not a problem. It doesn't define me. It doesn't mean I'm a failure or that I suck. All it means is that I enjoyed some extra treats that I don't normally have. I realize my weight is going to fluctuate. I also know, and this is key, that I have control over that. And I get to decide what I want to do moving forward. And I know exactly what to do to let that go. Okay. It's never a problem. It doesn't have to be a problem. The more we talk, I'm just going to say this, the more we shit talk ourselves, the more we beat ourselves up, the more we condemn ourselves and our behavior and what we ate or what we didn't eat, the more we do all that, the more we keep the cycle going. All right. You can pick any one of these 10 actions and start and implement it immediately and just see what starts to happen as you continue moving through this holiday season. I'm telling you, whichever one you pick and you commit to practicing it as a helpful action when you do overindulge or as you're moving through with all these treats around you, okay? Just picking one of them, see how you feel. Try another one, see how you feel. Practice with them. All the stuff that I talk about, it's not a light switch, okay? This stuff takes time. So patience is important, okay? Very important. But the idea is that ultimately you start feeling better and you start to see where you are in charge and you start to practice how you want to respond, okay? All right. With all that said, I hope you have a great rest of the week. Happy New Year. I'll be back next week. Are you ready to break free from stress eating and body shaming? It's time to get fierce. Fat2Fierce is a self-paced program that helps you build a new foundation of strength and balance without the toxic dieting mindset. This non-diet approach focuses on mindful eating, body acceptance, and lasting transformation. It's time to reclaim your power and find peace with food, your body, and yourself. Visit amyenglishcc.com to get started today.